Let's begin today with my favorite short and simple little practice here. As long as you're in a space that's safe to do so, it's an invitation to feel your feet on the floor. Perhaps pressing one foot and then the other, perhaps rocking back and forth. It's bringing a little bit of movement as you feel into the sensation. The sensation alive as your feet connect to the ground that's here supporting you. It's a moment that allows us to drop out of our heads, drop out of the busyness of the world or whatever space we've come from. It's a moment to drop into this space. Spring's this time of year, as we've been talking about a lot in this 7-day event. Spring's this wonderful time of year that we get to really look forward to brighter days to come. And whether or not you're in a part of the world where that is true of the season, I know that's not true for all of us, depending on what hemisphere we're in. Or, I spent many years in Phoenix, Arizona, and there, summer is not necessarily a time to look forward to for many people, but wherever you find yourself, just feeling into this energy that is springtime and looking forward to what's to come. And from this space, dropping in a little bit deeper into, what is alive in you when you tap into that space. When you start to get excited about what's to come in the future. What is it that comes into your field of awareness? For me, there are two things that have been very present in my world. Trail running, rock climbing, two things that in the past have really, really lit me up. And so we've gone through these last 6 months, been in a space where, they've both kind of left me. Trail running in particular, after running a 100-miler last year, something that brought a lot of excitement, a lot of fulfillment. After running that event, I kept trying to get back into the swing of things and kept finding that, that spark in me wasn't present. And with climbing, it's a whole other story, one that it's looking like I'm going to share next week. It's one that involves some darker themes, some harder things to talk about. So we'll leave that out of today's conversation. Just a note to look towards that. So with this trail running example, something that really has lit me up for years. And as I found myself in this winter season, found that, as much as I kept pushing myself to get back out there, I didn't quite have the spark that I needed to keep myself out there doing this thing that I know I love so dearly. So as these last, few weeks have been unfolding here, this springtime energy moving into this space that's like, what do I want? How do I want to spend my time? How do I want to cultivate joy and fulfillment in my life? Been spending a lot of time in the space that is, do I want rock climbing? Do I want trail running? to be a part of this next season of my life. And I found that the best way to do that is, once again, something that has to do with this very simple practice that I opened with. Isn't so much about creating plans and running around trying to find inspiration out there and doing all the other things that keep us stuck in our heads, which can be beneficial, but don't quite form the whole picture. Bringing in this other piece that is pausing, stepping away from it all as we drop into our own bodies and ask, what do we want? Is trail running something that I want to do right now? Is training for a big event something that I want to do right now? Do I want to spend more time rock climbing? Just letting it land. Is taking note of what's arising from within. Of course, from there, we can bring in some other practices, go a little bit deeper within, or maybe bring in some of those external things, some of those maybe inspirations from out there that may light a spark or fail to light a spark. Something that, we could go deeper into at another time, but, I wanted to bring this conversation to a little bit different place because this whole time, this whole space I've created is a space to, yes, talk about the things that light us up in life. And also, talk about some of the darker things, some of the harder things, the things, that maybe we wouldn't choose to spend our time and attention on if we didn't need to, but the need seems to be present. There was the series of experiences that happened last spring when I was very committed to training for this 100-miler, entering into spring and entering into one of the worst fire seasons the state has experienced, and just really being in this space that is, there's so much alive right now. There is, just in a single experience that was a training run, being filled with this desire to be out on the trails, to be, in the joyful experience that is running while working hard for this big, important goal of mine, while at the same time being in this stressful, very dark, full of grief experience that is the forest burning around me. And I bring this up today, just as a reminder that, there's a lot of times in life that people tell us simply to focus on the light, simply to focus on what's good, and that will somehow enable us to transcend what's dark, what's heavy. And then there's some times in life where people tell us not to be selfish and not to focus on what lights us up and to put our heads down as we work hard to solve the problems that are right here, right now. And through it all, I've just found that, if we're really going to find the path forward through it all, we can't keep sacrificing ourselves. We can't keep sacrificing the things that light us up, the things that fill us up, the things that bring us vitality in the name of solving the world's problems. And at the same time, there are very important problems to be solved, very deep and dark wounds that need our help in healing. So, once again, this invitation to perhaps pursue this path where we enable it all to be alive in ourselves. Can we let the dark and the light? Can we let that which fills us up and brings joy and fulfillment, can we let that be alive in us while we also enable ourselves to look at what's dark, feel what's heavy, and let that move us, let that propel us forward. So finishing things up today, just another invitation to drop out of our heads, out of this conversation, and dropping into your body. That helps feeling your feet on the floor, finding your breath. And from that space asking, what's alive in you now? Is there anything this conversation has invoked? Anything that brings you light, that brings you joy, that may bring you greater fulfillment, that maybe has been lit up in you? Maybe you're happy and excited to have some permission to go pursue it. And or maybe something a bit heavier, a bit darker. Something that you've been avoiding because you don't think you can handle your attention there. But something that is now asking to be heard, to be known. And I'll leave you here with the invitation to rest with this for as long as you'd like. Or even better, to take this sort of idea with you on a walk. Perhaps even a walk through the forest, whatever landscape surrounds you. I thank you for listening in today, and I will catch you in whatever next space we find ourselves in.